that one word reframes stuff hugely.
Yeah, my kids hate that word now because they've heard it non-stop for the past 15 years. Oh, I can't do it. You can't do it yet. Yes, Dad, I know.
Hey everybody, it's John Lamilton here alongside my good friend and business partner, Mr. Jason Brockman. We are here for another episode of the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast, where as always, it is our job to help you get more customers and make more money without just working harder. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this month's episode.
Today, we welcome back Ian Bluck to the Ambitious Lifestyle Business Podcast. 1% Ian joined us more than 3 years ago on episode 85, where he talked about balancing his day job with Lloyds Bank, together with building a property empire, running a property education business, and raising 4 kids, not to mention being really bad at golf. We've invited him back on today to talk about a rather eventful year, which has seen him quit his day job and emigrate to Spain. But first, we need to talk about the flamingo in the room. First and foremost, welcome back to the ALB podcast, Ian. You have a lot to answer for when it comes to the flamingos. Do you want to just talk us through, very briefly, for those who didn't listen to the previous episode, what the story is with you and flamingos?
Yeah, we was out in Lanzarote on a family holiday. I love joining the 1% calls, the coaching calls, but particularly this one. It was Gerald Ratner, and I think it was about 4 or 5 in the afternoon in sort of Lanzarote time, and just sort of jumped on the call really quickly. My top was off, just in my swimming shorts. I got a can of beer in the hand, and there was just a pink flamingo in the background, and it was that's what it was about. Look, we can run our business in our lifestyle however we want. It was all about just, yes, it was on a family holiday, but I think I had one kid asleep there, another one asleep there. The wife didn't want to be disturbed on the sunbed. And it was a case of, look, I don't want to miss this call because this guy has achieved some great things. And you just take a lot of inspiration from not only other people in the 1% club, but the guests that we have on. There's been some great guests, and especially coming up next week.
I think for me, it was just the fact that Gerald Ratner was in this window and Ian, you were in the one next to him. So it was just that completely that you were just like right next to him. And every time I was watching him, I was watching you. And it's just, for me, that flamingo floating on the pool behind you was just, brilliant.
Yeah, you just didn't think nothing of it at the time. It's like 30 odd degrees there. You just jump on a call. And then when you come back and you think, God, my top was off, my man boobs are out. It's time to get working out as well.
I was going to say, is that when you bought the Peloton?
It wasn't long, yeah, because he talked about his passion for cycling, didn't he, on that on that call? And I think I was probably about a year or 2 into my Peloton journey then as well. Yeah.
Excellent. So it has become synonymous with the lifestyle aspect of the 1% club, and we've got awards based on flamingos now, and it does appear quite often in different live events as well, doesn't it? Just because actually it was synonymous with having the lifestyle, with the ambitious part of the business,
and that's a bit of fun as well. And I've where we are here, just south of Alicante, there is so many flamingos, and I really hope, right, because we do have this every now and then, you'll have a flock of them flying out, because we're right by the pink lakes of Torrevieja, where a lot of them sort of reside. So it is a real big popular place for pink flamingos. So it's another nod to that bird and the impact that it's had.
So by the end of this podcast, we're going to see a flamboyance of flamingos going over your head there, Ian, yeah?
I'm positive. I've got it organised.
It is. So as a result of that coaching call and that inflatable pink flamingo, we created the Pink Flamingo Award, designed for the person who spends the most amount of time not working in their business every year. We've had 3 winners since then. We've had Michelle Marsland, who I think in the first year spent more time out of the business than she did in the business. She's carried that on ever since as well. Year 2, Alistair Imray took himself off the tools Got himself actually spending some time again, bought a place in Spain, got to spend some time there. And last year was Simon Fisher, who I think spent 93 days, was it, outside of his business? And he's planning 100 days this year, including spending a lot of time in his place in Tenerife. So it's hard to think that you would have kickstarted all this just from deciding I fancy jumping on this call, even though we're on a family holiday.
Yeah, and look at that. These sort of things happen, don't they? And you take a bit of inspiration, bit of thing. I think that's what part of this club is about. That there's so many others in different industries, different stages of their journey, but you take inspiration from each of them, and whether that was just jumping on that call or the other things that other people are doing. I think I mentioned on my message in 1% Live, there's so many different people that you wouldn't imagine to inspire you that actually does. And I only got to mention a few, you know what I mean? Tracy and Michelle have a lot to answer for, Alice, but there's people like Austin and Martin that have invested with us. There's Susie just constantly showing up to calls. There's I think Mark jumped on the call then, and like he's really new to the group, but he's really open to the challenges he's facing. Is really open in front of people and vulnerable to say, look, it's not going great for me. What can I do? This is the sort of thing, and that's the community down to you guys. What you've created is that people can be themselves, can share their challenges, but people don't judge them. They're all in your corner to help you on your journey and give you advice, guidance, experience, and they're cheering for you. But they'll also give you a telling off when you need a telling off, because I've had plenty of them from you guys as well.
You had one this morning. Come on, Ian. It's about time you updated your website, isn't it? Get rid of that stock images.
Yeah, but that's it, isn't it? It's you can't just you can't. I don't think you learn a great deal from jumping on calls and going, yeah, that's brilliant. You're amazing. That's wonderful. You want to hear the stuff that you've got to be doing and making things 1% better.
So I want to take you back to June last year. 1% Live. You, Sabrina, and the kids all came along. Kudos to, I think it was Mark at the Aztec Hotel in Bristol, wasn't he? Really looked after the kids fantastically well. Kept them trotting in for the heroes that were on the table. But the theme of last year was kind of look what you've done, look what's capable. And I think it was Michelle, wasn't it, who she had a slide that said, could you take 6 months off work? And Tracy was presenting about, working and having a business from abroad. There were probably about 30 people in that room. And yet you really seem to have run with the content of that day. Can you just talk us through what happened either on that day or on the days after that? Because you really ran with the information that we presented at that 1% Live.
Yeah, 100%. And it absolutely resonated. So probably the week before, I'd agreed my exit from Lloyds. It was that I was going to leave at the end of September. And I think I announced it at the 1% Live, and because I'd been going on about it on a number of calls. Sometimes I'd feel really down, and people would be going, you know what I mean, just get through it, just battle through it. And then others would be going, come on, you've replaced your income now. Now it's time to take the jump. And I was like, yeah, but I'm sure I'm deserve something from Lloyds. And there was lots of different views, but it comes to that point where we was exiting, and we couldn't find any babysitters. So 3 out of the 4 kids were with us, and they'd sat at the back of the room and listening to certain stuff. And Sabrina was there as well. And they actually went home early. We stopped for a few drinks after, and Adrian dropped me home. And it was the next day, Indy, the eldest girl, said, Dad, do you think you could run your business from Spain? And I was like, why? He said, I love that idea that we could go and live out there. And I'm like, oh, it was that one there. That was her then. That was... and it was like, well, could we? Because we've obviously got the property education, but that can be done virtually. We've got the property investments, which bring in the income, which was fine. You know what I mean? We could do that. And then there was the property management, which we had somebody running the business at the time, and we could just jump on calls, advise, and go. And I was like, yeah, I think we could. Let's start to think about it, because it was always been on our goal as the family to say, let's move abroad. Didn't think it'd happen so quickly, but we then started talking, and we go, okay, but we've got 3 projects on the go, and you know what I mean? Should we finish them projects off first? Oh, now we've actually agreed to buy a care home. What does that look like? And then as we got out of September, again, jumping on a 1% call, we had a director who had the wobble. He disappeared from the business, and we was like, help, what do we do here? Steve West, again, put his hand up. Really inspiring to share his vulnerable story, that he was that person holding somebody else back in the business. And then all of a sudden, we give the director that exit, but now I'm holding the handle of the property management business, and I'm going, well, I've just left the role. I've just created myself another one. But it was a case of, there's never going to be a right time, right? Let's commit to doing it. And all of a sudden then, I think our Q4 plan was, let's plan to get to Spain. And it was a case of just understanding what visa requirements were, renting out our own house, what options there were with that, what does the businesses look like to make sure we can do them from abroad. And it was just the normal piece of, God, let's get everything down we could do on a bit of paper, and let's choose the things that are going to help us move the needle to be able to facilitate this.
I love that fact that you kind of start asking yourself, you go, yeah, let's do this. We could do this. It's possible. And then you go, now here's 100 reasons why it's not possible, and why we have to delay, and we have to put it off, and we have to move backwards, and you know, and pause and stuff. And I just love the fact that you went, nah, to hell with all that. We can overcome any of those problems from Spain, and just cracked on anyway.
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. We come out here, it's not been plain sailing whatsoever. Loads of challenges, loads of things to sort. But again, as we've evolved and grown wiser, older, more experienced, I just have the fuck it for 5 minutes thing where, God, I didn't want that to happen. And instead of kicking the dog and screaming at the kids and whatever used to happen many years ago, you're more in control of stuff to say, right, okay, we've got to get it solved. This is the problem. What's the options we got? What the option we're going to choose? And let's do it. And that sort of, our mentality now is a lot more relaxed, and especially when you come out to Spain in the first 3 months here. I've definitely got that manana mindset that nothing is going to get done sort of really quickly, but we'll continue to just to build stuff and make improvements to what we've got to do on a daily basis.
Do you always think you had that decision making process? Because that's all what it's been about, really, is having decision making. Did you always have that with Lloyds? What do you think was the trigger that changed it, and why do you think it's now a lot different than? So
I've always been about. I'll always get stuff done. Yeah, I'm probably a bit like a bull in the china shop at times, where it will be, right, we're doing it, let's get it done. And people in the team at Lloyds would obviously rein it back. But ultimately, we was known for delivering lots of projects and delivering lots of projects successfully. And that stemmed into our property businesses, where I have a lot of JV partners that are going, right, just slow down a bit, just, you know what I mean, just calm down. But that's why it's so important to have people that complement each other. It's the same as at home. I wanted to just sell up at home, move to Spain, build a house, and Sab was like, there's 5 other people involved here, right? We've got 4 young ones that we need to know, do they, it's typical, somebody's gardening next door now. I don't know if you can hear that. But that's what you bring a balance. That's why, again, you both speak highly of each other. That you're the systems guy, Jason, in the background, and John's the marketing. But you complement each other with what you do, and that's sort of evolved in everything we do. Whether it was the Lloyds role, the property JVs, the businesses with SAB, the home life with SAB, it's about sort of bringing that balance together and that compromise. But you need people ultimately to sort of drive things forward and make things happen. And I think that's what I'm like. I look back and I'm really proud that how far we've come by making things happen. Do we know all the answers? No. Have we figured a lot of it out as we go along? Absolutely. But if we'd have just stood there and gone, you know what, it's not the right time now, or should we do it? Yeah, I don't think anything would have happened, because that's what most people are like. They'll say they want to do stuff, but then don't actually go and do it or go and try it. Because what's the worst thing that can happen if it doesn't work out here? We just go back home and we do what we used to do.
Is that a line you were ever able to use at Lloyds? What's the worst that could happen?
Yes, to certain bosses, right? Because I had some really good understanding bosses, but it was their people that eventually sort of made us grow apart, because I'd probably become too entrepreneurial or wanting to try all these different things at Lloyds, where my boss would go, yeah, just go off and do it. And he'd trying to manage that message upstream, and they'd be like, no, you're not. Or some other department would find out, and they'd go up that way, and they go, no, you can't do that. You've got to go through risk. You've got to go from compliance. And it just become sort of really frustrating, particularly when you've got people, like we'd sold cars at Lloyds Bank for 24 years, but you've got people who come in who didn't sell cars, who'd sat behind a spreadsheet, who would go, no, you need to be doing it that way. And it was like a vicious circle where you go, okay, but this is what has happened before. But if you want to try it, we'll facilitate it and make it happen. And you'd do it, and you'd love to turn around and go, told you so. But look, selling cars is very different to being a banker. But that was just the way it was. And eventually it just got a bit too much to continue with, because you'd got this property side hustle on the side that was no longer a side hustle. It was actually earning more than what Lloyds was giving us, and Lloyds was. I got to a point that I hated it, and that was such a shame, because I had such a great team that we'd worked together. I'd been there like 24 years. Now that's a big chunk of your life.
I think when we talked on the previous podcast, I think you said like it's like the best of both worlds. You've got security, you've got the structure of Lloyds, but you've also got the freedom of the property business. And I think it's very rare that you get someone who is comfortable in both the corporate space and the entrepreneurial flair of just get shit done, and we'll jump out the plane and build the parachute on the way down. Because the two seem completely opposed, don't they?
Yeah, but I suppose I was the corporate guy probably for about 19, 20 of them years. But we always was, because we sold cars, we was always sat on the side of the bank. But as the journey evolved, we was brought more into the bank, and they actually stopped you to be able to do your job. And we come up with a solution in 2016 where we outsourced everything. And I went from 325 staff down to, I think it was 17. I ended up with 10. But what happened is we didn't make any less money. We just had a seamless outsource system. And it was just us about managing an outsourced partner who were people that we'd actually two-pid across, that I'd already worked with for 20 years. So it was investing in our both interests to make it work. So, but as you evolve through that, you're trying different things to tweak it, and it just become more of a challenge. It was more of a computer says no, or you've got to go through this, you've got to go through that risk committee, that governance committee to get approval, and it just become that frustrating, especially then when you're doing the same in your own small business and making some real progress, whether it was through property education, through property management, or just joint ventures. But I wouldn't take away my time at Lloyds, because it really taught me a lot about being risk averse. Lloyds are a boring bank, right? And we used to talk about setting objectives, one-to-ones, team meetings, all these things. But when you actually apply that structure into a small business, you're actually streets ahead of anybody anyway. And then once you tweak it and make it more readily welcoming for a smaller business, it actually works. So I was lucky enough to be part of these big boardrooms, speak to like these highly intelligent people that run the parts of our business and the wider bank. And we used to get that for free. And I think for me, I had to change my mindset to say, look, I know you don't like going to work, but just utilize all this as learning to what you can do into your smaller businesses. And really funny, at the start of this year, is I've been banging on with my team for 2 or 3 years about 90-day plans, and we'd introduced them. And then all of a sudden at the start of the year, Lloyds are going, right, we're introducing this brand new thing. We're getting rid of annual objectives. We're doing 90-day plans. And I'm like to the team, told you so. And my boss was like, well, you need now to take the lead on this. And then, again, taking stuff from the 1% club, I was like, right, I'm introducing a book club. And they was like, what? And I said, the first thing we're doing is reading the one thing. And we read the one thing, and then we read the 12-week year. And then all of a sudden, it was about, right, these are the 90-day plans. These are the one thing we're going to do this week. And everybody's gone, this is game-changing, isn't it? I'm like, no, we've been doing it for 3 or 4 years. And that's just the simple stuff. So, you know what I mean? And I still get my guys from my old team still like texting me, so what books you're reading, this one, or we're still using the 90-day plans, or we're still doing the one thing within the team. And when it comes up, everybody rolls their eyes and goes, oh, Blucky again. But that's not me. I always talk about it, that it's a blueprint. Success leaves clues, and I only take you guys talk about swipe and deploy. I just copy selfishly, and I do. I just take.
At least change the names.
Yeah, I just what you guys teach us, I just go and do the same. But I've got my property spin on it, and it's, look, guys, set out your goal, understand the reasons why you're doing it. Right, this knowledge piece, this environment piece, for me, are a continuous thing. You've got to keep evolving both of them. And then the biggest one is, right, what's your plan to take action? Take action consistently. And when you say it in then small 5 things, it's really easy. But do people do it? No, not consistently anyway.
No. I mean, when I first wrote about the 5 magic ingredients for big ideas for small businesses, it really did seem like I'd stumbled across this massive secret. It was like, well, anyone that's had any success ever in the world, whether they're an Olympian, a chess grandmaster, or, you know, academic success, corporate success, whatever, they've had these 5 ingredients. And it is just a case of, okay, what is that goal? Do you really want that goal? Go get the knowledge, figure out how to do it, craft the environment so that actually you get the stumbling blocks out of your way, and then take action, take lots and lots of action. And again, if we think about your journey, and there's a reason we're talking to you on the second podcast, is because you have, over the 5-6 years we've known you now, you just embody all 5 of these magic ingredients. You go all in on all of them.
yeah, look, I'm not very clever, but if somebody tells me what to do, I'll do it. It's that's yeah. It's I just keep looking at different stuff, and we talk about the routines, about stuff that you implement throughout my day that just constantly tweak to make it better, easier. But that's the ever evolving environment and knowledge. We're still working towards the same goal of providing lots of safe and warm homes. What used to be across the West Midlands, now we're going a bit wider than that. I understand that the reason I'm doing it is to give the children their choice to follow a passion and not to spend 24 years in the corporate world selling cars where they don't care. If they choose to go and be a solicitor, great. If they choose to go and be a decorator, great. But what we've been able to give them is an opportunity through the houses to have some passive income, that they go and choose a profession that they're passionate about rather than chasing money.
Yeah, I'm going through that. Currently, my oldest is coming up for 16, doing his GCSEs. By the time this episode comes out, he will have done his GCSEs, hopefully. He's adamant he's not revising for them, but that's another story. But yeah, school have been absolutely useless in terms of preparing him for the world of work. They've told him to ignore AI, don't use it, was their advice. They talk about the courses that he can do, the A-levels he can go on to do, the university courses. Running a business, self-employed, no, not even mentioned. That's been up to us. And actually, we are keen to just, much like yourself, Ian, just guide him towards, okay, what do you enjoy? Because where I see possibly the world is going in terms of pensions, working ages, you're probably going to be working for over 50 years. So when you choose a career, you're going to be doing it for more than 50 years. Why not choose something you actually enjoy? There's plenty of time and plenty of ways to earn money, but let's make sure you actually enjoy these 50 years.
I done a calculation last night because I started on the first chapter of the book that I keep saying I'm going to write, and I used my dad as the inspiration. So he was 69 when he passed away. He'd been working for 53 years and never got to retire. Because I wrote in the book, you work for 40 years of your life, 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life to live on 40% of what you've been earning. And I was like, well, actually, that's not correct because he worked for 53 years. And it was in the April 19, he got cancer of the esophagus, 6 months of chemo, battled a huge operation to have not one removed but two, was being fed through his stomach. One of the first meals he had was on Christmas Day, and he ate it. And then he had a couple of more chemo, about to ring the bell, and died of a blood clot. And he never got to retire. All he wanted to do was play more golf with me, spend more time with the grandkids and more holidays. But they never got to do that. And that was in 2020. And that was the point. I think I just joined the 1% Club in that year, or it might have been the year before. And that was the wake-up call to go, you know what? This lifestyle business thing has something about it. Do you know what I mean? And I always have them words that are in the book to say, I work where I want, when I want, with who I want, if I want. And there's another one in there that I've missed out. But
I normally repeat one of them. So,
yeah.
Good luck with getting it right.
Yeah, but that really hit home to say, you know what, now I can't be working in a 9 to 5 having to turn up when they tell me I need to turn up to do the work that they tell me I need to do. And it's been so refreshing since we moved out here that there's none of that dread on a Sunday about Monday's coming tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? It's just everything is, I can't what we got to do tomorrow. It's always. It's definitely a huge change in mindset to be able to have that and not have that weight of going into a job that you've grown to hate.
Well, What do you think your dad would have liked to have done instead of working for 53 years? What do you think he would have loved to have done?
Played more golf, spent more time with the grandkids, more holidays with mother. And Dave was he was the person I'd aspired to be to, but not one I'd want to turn into, because we was like just a normal family from Birmingham. We had our one holiday a year, you know what I mean, and that was without fail. But he was still working. He was self-employed builder. They was always booked up with work for 6 or 7 months at a time, but they never was able to run a business, because when they took people on, their standard of work was never the same as others, and they never knew about business. They was never taught about it, and it just shows that piece. And that's why, even with the children now, we try and do different things. We've been, for over a year now, we've been doing the jar game, where they've each got 4 jars with spend, save, invest, and give. So they get £10 a month, and they have to record. They have to put at least £1 in each jar, and they have to record reasons why they're putting the money in each jar. And however much they put money in invest, it gets doubled from what they'd done the previous month. And it's amazing how quick all of them have realised that if I just put £1 in these others, and I put £7 in that one, next month there's £14 in it. And it's just educating in a fun and different way.
Where are they investing where they're doubling their money in a month? That's what I want to know.
I made a mistake early on, right, where we're going, whatever's in invest will double. Then all of a sudden it went from 7, 14, 28, and I'm going, hold it, this is going to get out of hand quite quickly.
So, compounding to them, they figured out compounding very quickly, I'll bet.
Yeah, so it was quickly, no, whatever you put in that month will just double. And then recently, since we've been out here with the 2 oldest, Isaac and Indy, we've been doing some trading in the stock market. We've been picking some shares, putting them in a virtual platform, checking in on them each week. And it was literally, they was going, what should you invest in, Dad? And I'm like, well, we should invest in banking, because that's what you know what I mean, I'm used to. I know Lloyds are pretty safe, the oil companies. And then after that first week, Mr. Trump announced his tariffs. And I'd lost nearly half of my original £10,000 investments. And Indy, who was investing in Next and some other clothing companies, had made a load of money. So I was like, right, okay, this is the long-term stuff. We've got to extend this game out. So yes, just little things like that to try and make it a bit fun, but also a bit of education as well.
No, they haven't remortgaged the house yet to put it in the invest jar, have they?
No, but Isaac, who's the oldest, so he used to come round some of the properties with me, whether we was building furniture to get them ready, or just do some checks, or just look at some new ones. And he'd go, right, Dad, how much do we get for that room? How much do we get for that room? Okay. Oh, right. Okay. So what's the mortgage on that? So we make around £1,000, £1,200 a month. Yeah. So how many houses have we got? And you can see him doing the maths and that. And I definitely feel he'll be one to hopefully want to get involved in that, because he sees he sees the value of income through property. But they play a game called Hotel, which is like Monopoly on steroids, right? Because you actually build up cardboard hotels, and it's mad how they're all aspiring to get the biggest hotel, because that's the most amount of money that they get when people are stopping 6 nights in your hotel.
Yeah.
So just little things like that. You see the pennies drop, and you go, you know what? Hopefully they're understanding this bit about building assets to help you go forward. And again, part of the Wealth Builders community. I know you've been on the podcast a few times, John. I really love what they do there, because they talk about investing together as a family, not just you're doing it. It's getting everybody involved. So, but it just goes back to communities, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There's a podcast I listen to around kind of money psychology, and anyone they have on this podcast that has a problem with their mindset around money, they always say to them, "Well, what were the conversations around money when you were young?" And it's always either we didn't talk about money, or there is no money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Do you think we're made of money? Scarcity mindset. And there's never, oh yeah, we had a nice open conversation and we explained how the business works. No, positive conversations around money never happen with adults who have money mindset issues.
Yeah, look. Again, like Sabrina's very safe and risk averse, and she's going, "Oh no, you don't need that." And I go to the guys, "Well, right, how can you afford that then? What are the things that you can do? So if you want to buy it, that you can. And is that doing some chores? Is that doing something different?" And it's just them few words that change it that we can't to how can we? I think you again. I love going back to the bike bit. I think it's one of your. I think it might be the first book. You said, "Oh, you can't ride your bike." No, you can't ride your bike yet.
Yeah.
And it's always that one word reframes stuff hugely.
Yeah, my kids hate that word now because they've heard it non-stop for the past 15 years. "Oh, I can't do it." "You can't do it yet." "Yes, Dad, I know."
But it just sounds like these books and these people in this community have had an effect on my mindset and lifestyle.
I was going to say, people is really important to you, whether that's Team Bluck at home or Team Bluck at Lloyds or Team Bluck doing the property. People around, having the right people around you, it's been crucial to your development and where you're kind of going as well. Do you see that as being an important factor?
100%. So at Lloyds, people ask me what the biggest, proudest thing I've done at Lloyds, and we delivered like £600-700 million P&Ls profits, right? Huge things, right? Proudest thing, I was always in the top 3 of colleague engagement in my teams, and that was huge. And people always like, I'm trying to think what would they say about the reputation. It was like, because we was a car salesman, they'd all go, "Oh, a bit like Swiss Tony, always a little bit weird, he's a little bit weird." And, "Oh, look at him always posting on LinkedIn. It's nothing to do with Lloyds. It's all to do with his property." She had this bit of a reputation around Lloyds about, "Oh, God, who's he think he is?" But if you asked anybody of my team that question, they'd be like, "He's amazing. What a person to work for," because he just empowered us to do it. And we had the bit like, I don't like to call it the Jose Mourinho effect, right? Because it's gone really bad about how he's gone about stuff now. But remember when he was at Chelsea and he created that mindset that it's just us against the world.
Yeah.
And everybody in that team, even John Terry, Frank Lampard, still call him Gaffer to this day. And it was creating that mindset and that culture within the team that, do you know what? If we're all together, we'll roll our sleeves up and do it together. We'll celebrate together. We'll muck in together. And I was always probably one of the vocal ones in the dressing room, whether I was a captain or not during my football days. I've ran a golf society for 20 years. And it's very rare that a golf society be still running for 20 years, but I still run it from out here, even though I've not been able to attend stuff. So for me, creating that community, that culture, like the 4 Business Network, I was part of that that community again, where I was an ambassador at the West Bromwich Group, and we had like 20, 30 strong members that would be there all the time. We'd go away together. We'd go to different groups together. So creating that community, that piece around yourselves, and not only makes it more enjoyable, but it means people have got your back and you've got theirs. And that's, again, like, I feel that from the 1% Club. I always 1% Club, 4 Business, my golf society, even Peloton to an extent that I'm getting on that bike every single day. And although I don't know the people on there, they're screaming at me to go faster, 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 and get a personal best. So I just think it's important to find your tribe.
Absolutely. One of the questions we always ask at the end of it is, what does an ambitious lifestyle business mean to you? But I think we've already discovered that. So John asked about your dad and what he would have liked to have done. What have you got left that you'd like to do now, having probably got one of the best ambitious lifestyle businesses at the moment?
I've done a presentation on just before I left our property in Poppadoms, and the presentation was called "Bigger Isn't Better." Better is better, and it was from I think the company of one that I just wrote. Just wrote. I didn't write it. Definitely didn't write it.
I know you said you'd just copy completely. No, never mind swipe and deploy. But hey, that's going.
Yeah, I just scribbled his name out on the front to put Ian Bluck and started handing them out at the event. No, I talked about, like, there's so many property people that talk about, look at my huge portfolio. I've got 100 properties. And you look at all these stuff and it become quite overwhelming for people. And I talked through this presentation about just the little 1% wins that I've done in the last month in our property education business, in our property management business, in our property investment business. Broke it down into small little bits and talked about to people, right? Your better is your better. It's not anybody else's. Take inspiration from it, but actually it's what you want and what you require. And we sort of went through that process, and everybody's gone, but you made it sound really easy. And I'll go back to, it is really easy if you follow the instructions and not get not get overwhelmed, not get distracted by different things. So, I suppose to answer the question, then, I just want our property managing agency to be better. Yeah, I want my investments to be better. I want my property education / AI to be better. I don't want a big sort of multi-million-pound business that's taking up all of my time. I quite like my routine that we've got here, that I'll wake up, I'll sit out here overlooking a couple of coffees, I'll get on my Peloton, I'll do my hour, I've got my 2 hours of deep work done, and then the afternoon and evening is that time for a bit of spontaneity where I might have some calls. We might go down the beach paddleboarding. There's a stunning golf club just round the corner. Shock horror. We've got a paddle tennis. Like, both paddle boarding and paddle tennis are on my vision board for this year that I wanted to do. So yes, we've got routine, but we've also got room for spontaneity as well, that we can still do things what we want to do.
Are you looking for better weather as well? Because I just keep looking, and as we look at it, the blue skies disappeared, and now big grey.
Do you know what? January and February, right? We were sitting. It was amazing. I was going, geez, I'm really getting used to this. And then March was pretty wet. April was okay. Yeah, it's not. But it's not cold. It's not. I'm not saying it's not raining, because I took the dog for a walk last night and it was raining. But just being able to sit outside, just being outside more weather. Even the kids, right? Since we've been here, iPads less, not sitting in their own rooms watching their TVs, watching some other kid play a game on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, what is it? But they're all doing just loads of different things, different creative stuff that they probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to do at home because of the weather.
And I just love that. An hour sitting out, a couple of coffees, and the fantastic lemon thinker in front of you that you can just look at, views going on as far as you can see.
Yeah, and you sit out at night, and I sometimes go, wow, look what we've achieved. I feel really overwhelmed. Like, when you've seen the video at 1% Live where I tried to say, guys, be careful. It's just a little old lad from Birmingham to be able to just up and go just shows, if you have a plan and follow that plan, anything can be achieved.
Definitely. If you have a go, if you've got that desire to really follow and chase that goal, If you know the knowledge that's required, you can craft the environment and you take a huge amount of action, you can get there.
Absolutely.
And you too could be sat here on the AOB podcast with the birds cheeping in the background as you look out over the lemon groves and that really, really darkening sky that's coming in behind you. It's lovely and sunny in Plymouth, by the way, just saying. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you once again, mate. You are, without a doubt, one of the stars of the 1% Club. You did bring a lot of us almost to tears with a little video message from the poolside at 1% Live a couple of weeks ago. So thank you ever so much. For those who are interested in knowing more about the Blucky journey, where can they get in touch with you?
A couple of websites. Ian at beattheday.life is our property education, or Ian at the HMO Professionals, which is our property consultancy. And if you need any property management, Ian at thecohome.life. So I might as well get all three in. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much again for joining us, Ian. Thank you for joining us, dear listener. We will see you, hear you next month.
So there we are, another episode in the can. How was it for you? Please let us know. However you listen to these podcasts, please leave a review on that platform. Let us know what we can do better, what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve to make this show even better for you. We'll see you next time.